ask David if he would be kind enough to read what he brought to us today.
Yes, and as is per our tradition, because we have a total eclipse of the moon, which all of you can see Tuesday morning if you get up around 5 a.m. and look at the moon, you see it totally immersed in the shadow of the earth. And my quotation in honor of that will be from Thomas Hardy's At a Lunar Eclipse. And we all know Thomas Hardy is one of the great writers in the English language. His book, Test of the D'Urbervilles, is one of my very favorite. But he was also a very first-class poet, as is evidenced by this poem. It's a nice little sonnet. Thy shadow earth from pole to central sea now steals upon the moon's meek shine, an even monochrome and curving line of imperturbable serenity. How shall I link such sun-cast symmetry with the torn troubled form I know is thine? That profile, placid as a brow divine with continents of moil and misery. And can advance mortality but throw so small a shade, and heaven's by human scheme be hemmed within the coast young Arkan plies. Is such the stellar gauge of earthly show, nation at war with nation, flames that teem, heroes and women fairer than the skies. Thank you very much, Marty, and back to you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
David.
David. Very timely. Thank you. Uh, so we're going to start reading uh, a few things, and I just want to start. I don't know if you have listened to the news yet today, uh, but it's
Yeah.
I don't want to get into the politics, but in true uh, Torah form, following the crossing of the Red Sea, Miriam and others are chastised for rejoicing in their victory, and God says, against the Egyptians, God it causes the Red Sea to divide so they can cross, and then after the Israelites have crossed, the waters come back, and their entire military is destroyed, and they're rejoicing, but God says to them, "Do not rejoice; these are my children too." So, with that being said, I just wanted to say I think uh, we should pray that this is over quickly with minimal loss of life and property, and hope for a better tomorrow, because that's all we have no idea as to how things are going to occur. But I just want to do it in the form of what is in Torah, since this is a Torah study class. So with that, and I just want to mention, I know there are different political issues that the group, can get involved with, but to keep us focused on what is in Torah, okay? And I think that's going to be more important. Afterwards, you can discuss it with anyone the way you want to, but during this 2 hour session, I think we should try to focus on the messages here. This deals with uh, uh, we're going to enter a discussion about when you go into war, when you go into invade Canaan, and you're going to see the basis for arguments pro and con on many issues. Okay, and that's where I'm going to leave it, because I'm just sort of trying to tantalize your appetites a little bit. And but before, that's what I wanted to say there. Lynn, I spoke with Noah, uh,
Jonah.
who,
Jonah.
and did he call you?
No, he sent me a text.
Oh, he said, okay. We had a great time. Thank you. And
Yeah, he
thank you.
said,
Yeah,
thank you so much.
you're
Thank you so
welcome.
my grandson. Yeah.
Yes. He sounds like a really sharp guy.
Yeah, he's very special.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. Anyway, Michael, I'm going to ask you to read first if you feel you up to it today. Are your eyes okay?
I'll read a little bit, but no, they're very, very dry.
Yeah, I
This
know.
particular this morning,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
and remember, I only have my left eye, my right eye,
I
I'm blind,
know.
so
Mm.
sometimes it's not easy for me to do, but I still want to do it
Okay.
the best that I
Thank you.
can.
Thank you.
And well, no, thank you for calling on me. You don't do it too often, but I appreciate it.
Okay. I try to keep it balanced during the sessions, but sometimes I can't keep everything in mind.
No,
Anyway,
I understand.
so we're on Deuteronomy, uh,
Well,
chapter 20, verse 1.
21. Okay. When you take the field against your enemies and see horses and chariots, horses longer than yours, have no fear of them. For the Lord your God, who brought you from the land of Egypt, is with you. Before you join battle, the priest shall come forward and address the troops. He shall say to them, Hear, O Israel, you are about to join battle with your enemy. Let not your courage falter. Do not be in fear or in panic or in dread of them. For it is the Lord your God who marches with you to do battle for you against your enemy, to bring you victory.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Rabbi Mary.
Hello, I'm on the phone, so it's a little difficult.
Oh, okay. I understand. I understand. Anyway, this is interesting. Uh, some of you who have been in the military will say, I've heard this before, because this part of these prayers are recited before the troops are entering into battle.
Hmm.
Okay, even in the United States and in Europe. Okay, I can't speak about Asia. I'm not that familiar with it. But in Judeo-Christian countries who have to go to war, who may have to go to war, there is a blessing that a chaplain makes for the troops, even on air or naval missions, things like that, and they still do it to this day. So
Uh,
so that's what I preface for those who just came on. I was saying
that,
that yes, Michael, go ahead.
yeah, I recall, I think it was under George Bush, the second, George Walker Bush.
Mm-hmm.
Before the troops went into Iraq, it was
Mm-hmm.
very obvious that a prayer was said just before the troops went into Iraq. There was a prayer made,
Yeah. This is
and
this is
yeah, I think that's uh, it's a wonderful way to set the troops, to give them the courage, to give them a positive uh, feeling of doing the right, have to do the right thing under difficult circumstances. We all wish that there was no war. We all wish that people will treat other people kindly so there does not have to be a war. And so we have to just take a look behind the prayer, take a look at the whole thing.
And remember, as we read through this, uh, well, this will come up about the phrase, justice, justice shall you pursue. Because after doing all of this, and there are commentaries on this that that you can look up. There are a lot of commentaries on this passage, and so if anyone wants to discuss that a little further based on the commentaries, that would be okay. Well, silence is spoken. And so now we make it 180 degree, what sounds like 180 degree reverse. So, Donna, would you care to read verses 5 through the end of 9?
Sure. Hang on. Spit my gum out.
Okay.
Don't want to put it on
I'm
the
glad
table.
I'm glad you aimed that way and not towards the computer. Otherwise, we would have seen that splotch there forever.
Yeah, I know that bubble gum. Then the officials shall address the troops as follows. Is there anyone who has built a new house but has not dedicated it? Let him go to his home, lest he die in battle and another dedicate it. Whoa. Is there anyone who has planted a vineyard but has never harvested? Let him go back to his home, lest he die in battle and another harvest it. Is there anyone who has paid the bride price for a wife who has not yet married her? Let him go back to his home, lest he die in battle and another marry her. The officials shall go on addressing the troops and say, is there anyone afraid and disheartened? Let him go back to his home, lest the courage of his comrades flag like his. When the officials have finished addressing the troops, army commanders shall assume command of the troops.
And now you see the grounds for conscientious objection.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's the term we use in the modern world.
Yeah, Vietnam.
So as you see, it's two sides to things, and how do you deal with this fairly? That is or justly, or a charitable justice, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
And that's the balance that is very, very hard to maintain in any situation.
Well, and to give them an option from up
Yes.
here, to give them the option.
Yes.
I'm sure they still got feedback from the other troops, but it's in there. There is, if you just cannot not, do it, then.
So I'm familiar with the American military, but all I can say is, Rabbi Mary,
Yes.
when you have a chance, when Israel has to go into battle, do they comment like this? Have prayers for the troops, the enemy, conscientious objection and like that. It must come up. And I don't know. I just don't know how it's done. I know the other people may have been associated with people who have served in the Israeli military, and
Yeah,
I don't know, but it must come up. in some
I-
capacity.
I'm not sure that it comes exactly when the war starts, but I'm not sure, Marty.
Okay, okay, because
I'm just, I'm just not in a very good mood this morning, so
I
uh,
understand.
I open my eyes to this stuff and I'm just
I
devastated.
understand.
So,
I understand.
uh, keep
So
going.
getting, and I appreciate everybody's respective opinions on this. Uh, but
Marty,
in Torah, we have the balance. Yes, Kent, you're talking there.
no, it's Marianne. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Marianne. Okay,
I
I don't
can't
have
get
your face, so I
myself.
didn't know who's
I'm sorry. I
had
can't
just
get this
signed on.
to work this morning. Yeah, I have a little bit of a question on this. To my mind, a conscientious objector is someone who is opposed to killing on any level. And to me, as I'm reading this, it sounds like they have unfinished business, personal things that they need to
Right.
take care because I've never been in the military, but I would think that you need to focus all of your attention on what's right in front of you. And these other things are a distraction to them, even being able to sacrifice their lives if they have to in battle. That some of these things are a distraction more than a conscientious objection to killing in any form. So I don't know whether I'm understanding this
I
correctly or
understand
not.
what you're saying, and yes, it has evolved into this. But these are the first known arguments from
Okay.
that and some of these have also been discussed from time to time in people who object to war.
Yeah, but these things that you mentioned before that are written are not objections. They are not objections. These are the laws that happened. An objection brings jail. So, all
Well,
those that object
not
for
always.
conscience reasons or whatever, they're going to put in jail, at least in Israel.
Okay.
I believe
In the
that in
American time
America
of
the
the
same.
American Revolution, if you objected, they painted a black stripe around your chimney,
There you
Wow.
Did it?
being a
Oh,
Tory, being a Tory.
It's not accepted, it's not accepted.
And so it was a form of branding,
Well,
if you
yeah.
will.
Well,
And
the thing is, Marty, that these wars, whatever and wherever, and I don't know what they do to other people, the issue is that it's not about personal war. It's not that you're taking revenge on someone. It's
right,
not that you want to conquer personally. This is about a community. And by saying, I don't want to war, I don't want to go to this war, you said, well, I don't accept what the community decided to do.
Hmm.
So, it's a difficult question.
right.
Um, the people that object, well, I don't understand why not enough people object, but in the Vietnam War, yeah, a lot of people objected, and eventually that stopped. I don't know if it was for the objections or whatever, but we need to look at this as a community decision to go to war.
Yeah.
In our case, in this country, we can say it differently, but uh, it's a tough question, and
Yeah,
especially in those times.
exactly.
Hmm.
But this is,
And
as I prefaced everything, this is the first time and then I'm going to call on Michael. This is the first time it was mentioned for not going to war. Okay? So even though God is prescribing all of this, he's also looking after other people. And yes, you are correct. This is how conscientious objection has evolved. You are very correct, but this stands out among all the other nations at that time. And for a good long
Oh,
time.
it's Michael.
Yes, Michael.
Yeah.
Yes, Michael.
Okay, yeah, thank you there. Concerning today, Marty, is what I heard,
Okay.
this is the best of my knowledge, that in Israel, the Shiva Buchas, I believe that's the ultra right wing Orthodox, they refuse to be part of the military. And I don't think the government of Israel was trying to do something about that and get them to enlist in the army, but I don't think that ever came to fruition. So they, at this time, they don't. They just study and study and just leave the the battle to the IDF.
Yeah.
You know, and
And for the most part, I know that you've said that, but in some of the recent battles, there have been groups that of those same individuals, so the very orthodox, that have served in other capacities in the military. So, but I'm not that well informed either. All I can say is that they have commented about that, some very courageous activity by some of those people too.
I'm sure.
That's right. Yes, Donna.
Yes, I'm looking at 8. It starts with, "Is there anyone afraid?" And it goes on to, "Lest the courage, let him go back to his home.
Yeah.
Lest the courage of his comrades flag like his." I was interested in that word flag. And the comment that I have in mind is that the first 3 deferrals, does that mean the first 3 that we read in 5? Or what? Anyway, I have a question about this. The first 3 deferrals were for the benefit of the individuals deferred. The last deferral is for the benefit of the army as a whole, lest the fear of a few spread to others. So that, yeah.
So, it can happen.
Well,
And that's why it's just, so you don't want let's say somebody tells you to move forward and you're afraid that you may be killed. Somebody next to you may say, well, if he's doing that, I'm going to do it, and so forth. And they don't partake in the action.
well,
How-
it's the conscience
Right.
of that individual that wants to be deferred.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot different than, maybe that his consciousness of that will awaken the consciousness in others.
It can. It can.
Maybe.
And
It depends,
sometimes
because
it doesn't, but sometimes it does.
that's why they get very, very young men and women,
Mm-hmm.
Because they're more easily malleable and manipulative. They have maybe, I don't know, I've never
I
been
don't
in the
know.
army,
But
but it is like it's sold as an exciting thing to be part of a war or something
mm-hmm.
in order to attract the attraction of young men and women, or the money afterwards. It's getting away from the Torah, but it does bring up a lot of questions. So
Okay.
No, it
All
doesn't
right.
get away of the Torah, Donna, because we know, if you recall, when Moshe sent a group of people to the land of Canaan to check it out, and they came and they said, it sucks, we shouldn't go there because we're going to be slaughtered.
Mm.
So God and Moshe just kill all these people because they were, I don't remember the word, not just discouraging, but putting the people in a place that, oh, we shouldn't go there because look what Korach is saying. It's not a good place to be there. So, so Moshe killed them all. And when we look at that, we say, yeah, because they could have influenced the rest of the people.
Mm.
Yeah. So it is, there is a precedence on that kind of behavior.
Mm.
And
Okay.
I think what Rabbi Miri
Well,
I'm sorry, I can't, playing with this thing, I still can't get myself on.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
Okay, Marianne, that's fine.
What Rabbi Miri just said, that you have to trust God. And this is such a fearful, confusing circumstance that if you're not trusting God, you're almost guaranteed to lose. And with the trust, with the faith, either way, you'll be doing God's will. So I think, I've never been in the military either. And I don't think I don't think I would have the courage. I think it
Well,
takes a great deal of courage to be in the military.
yeah. When
Okay, wait a second, Michael. There's something that we're drifting away from, and I'll let you speak, but I just want to read the commentary in Plowed about this. According to the Mishnah, the man still had to perform non-combatant service, like helping to provide food and water for the army, repairing roads, etc. Okay? So there was still an obligation to the community. You weren't just, turning your back on anything. Yes, Michael.
Well, Marianne, when you were talking about trusting God, I think we still have to keep in mind that this is we have to look at the free will that God gave us, and so we have to start to think for ourselves without. You never forget that you don't forget about God's presence. However, you do have the ability that God gave you, and that's free will, and that's to consider and to think and do your best to come up with the right answer and the right solution for these situations.
Another good point. Another good point.
Yeah, I get that. And I wonder sometimes, is my free will a cover up for my fear?
Okay, I understand that too. Lynn. It looks
Yeah.
like you're busting to say something.
No, something came up and I was wondering
Sure.
if anybody had noticed the term treifa da'at, which means like torn consciousness or awareness. It's like
Right.
having a divided heart.
Yes.
And I'm not sure I know the term comes in various contexts. I'm not sure if it's applied here, but it seems relevant that if you're going into war, you want to do it, as people have mentioned, with all of your resources and not even having your unconscious be telling you, oh, what about my wife back home? Or what's happened with my field? Or just, I'm so afraid, how am I going to keep my head together? So
Yeah.
I'm wondering if anybody is talking about the wider context of having a divided mind in Judaism,
Oh, that's a good one.
specifically Rabbi Neri.
Yeah. I don't think that anything is said about it, at least not in that language, but I'm sure that it was part of human behavior at that time. But you know, one of the things that happen in war and not in war is that when the commander says do so and so, the tendency is to follow instructions, which can end in horrible results. If you want to look at something that happened in Israel during not revolution war, to the Atzmaut war in 49, in 40, actually later than that, and just Google Kfar Qasim, Kfar Qasim, Kasem, which is what you're talking about, the issue of making a decision that the commander, some people followed him and some people didn't. It's a very, very important in the life of Israel. And this happened after the, oh God, yeah, in 47, something like that. So, you know, I'm sure that it existed, Lynn. I am sure, but what I'm reiterating is the issue of hierarchy, mainly in the military. Who's the boss that tells you what? And how do I feel? Do I have to follow the orders or not? So it's a difficult question.
As a little takeoff on that, I was confronted with a situation in the military, and there is something called an illegal order, where
Right.
a superior officer orders you to do something,
Yeah.
but it is not sanctioned in any way, shape, or form. And you can say to the commanding officer that that's an illegal order for the following reasons. Okay, and any service personnel can do that, but they have to understand what's going on. You can't just say it every time the fellow opens his mouth. But you have to, but the point is, I was confronted with a time where I was ordered to change a chart to meet the commanding officer's agenda. And I said, sir, that's you can't do that. I can't change a medical chart like that. And he then went to another doctor to do this. And that fellow also said to him, no, sir, that is an illegal order. You're not allowed to do that. Because even a medical record is part of the military records.
Sure.
Okay? It's not when you're in the military. So it's one of these things. And so, and that was done independently, fortunately.
Yeah.
So, but it can arise, and you have to be willing to stick your neck out. You can't do something that is going to have very bad repercussions. So anyway, I just wanted to clarify that, and a lot of it is just this is the groundwork on which what we call conscientious objection today. This is the basis, the arguments that start, well, I was thinking about what about these other people who just do not want war? And so it starts here and it gets added to, remember, this you have 2,000, well, you have almost 3,000 years or more of this being developed to what we see today. So this is the first time it occurs, and so what we're seeing here the tension between a hard justice and compassion. That's why one paragraph and then you have a rapid change, a 180-degree turn. And it's
Marty,
interesting. It's just a very interesting concept. Oh, was that you?
no, it's me.
You again. Okay.
Oh, back.
Okay,
Yeah.
Marianne.
Yeah,
I apologize.
I get what you're saying, but my first husband is a disabled Vietnam veteran, so I understand what you're saying. War has consequences,
Yes,
but not fighting that war, not defending yourself, also has consequences.
Right.
I think it's
that
a
is very
very
correct.
hard decision. Consequences are consequences either way. I don't know anybody who says yay war, but
Right.
you've got to do what you've got to do.
Yeah. I was
Okay.
going to,
I'm going to give Michael a chance to speak, and then I want to change. I want to move on
yeah,
a little bit. So, Michael, you're going to
yeah,
finish this
uh, yeah,
discussion.
Marianne, I was going to mention the same thing, and add to that, when the start of a war involves two, and of course it can be widened where others. I'm not going to mention any names or anything that to do that, but then others can get involved. But if one starts to war against another, what does the other do? If the other doesn't believe in war and just stands idly by, becomes a pacifist, what happens? See, that's the consequence you were talking about, Marianne. So you're absolutely correct. Doing nothing is maybe even a bigger consequence. Doing nothing may even be the bigger consequence. So you just have to be able to understand. And I take that from a bumper sticker that I see occasionally where it says, "War is not the answer." On the surface, on the surface that sounds pretty good, but if you dig deeper, that's not a good um, that's not a good thought. It's just not a good thought. Nobody wants war, but sometimes it's absolutely necessary. You cannot avoid it unless you're a pacifist and you want it to go away on its own, which is not going to really happen.
Okay. Now, who would care to read verses 10 through the end of 14?
I will.
Okay.
When you approach a town to attack it, you shall offer it terms of peace. If it responds peaceably and lets you in, all the people present there shall serve you at forced labor. If it does not surrender to you, but would join battle with you, you shall lay siege. I just lost my place. You shall lay siege to it. And when the Lord your God delivers it into your hand, you shall put all its males to the sword. That's a little rough. You may, however, take as your booty the women, the children, and the livestock, and everything in the town, all the spoil, and enjoy the use of spoil of your enemy, which the Lord your God has given you.
Okay. That's a little different from what we read before. Okay. It's lumping certain things together that weren't lumped before in the book of Numbers. Okay. But any comments about this? It does with regard to Israel, don't they before they engage the enemy in battle, don't they drop leaflets or things like that?
Yeah.
They warn people to get out. Those leaflets are designed to inform the people that are hopefully, I mean, that are innocent to leave the area. And this is one of the reasons that make the Israeli army an army that has scruples, I guess, because they to their own peril, they're advancing this information that also the enemy would have. So they're at a disadvantage when they do that. And so they're an army that has good intentions, doing this, which is a terrible thing, but you got to do it. You got to do it. But at the same time, they're demonstrating that they're decent. There's a decency there.
Okay.
No
Thank you.
comment, no comment, no comment. Although the Israeli army call itself IDF, which D is for defense, we need to check that out now. I'm sorry.
I understand your position, Marie, and I respect that. But I thought that they do at least make an effort.
They do. And I thought that was a little strange. I think, unless I'm paying attention and haven't before, I've never seen a war where you feed your enemy, you warn them about the bombings, you give them medical supplies. I mean, what more of a compassionate war? And I don't know if there's such a thing as a compassionate war. I just made that up. What more type of a compassionate war can you have than what Israel was doing with Gaza, with the Middle East? That we don't want to hurt you, but this is what we must do. But on the other hand, we're helping you and trying to protect you as well. I think that's a really deep moral issue for them. I don't know if I lived in Israel that I'd be that kind. I don't think I would. Just get them
I
and get it all.
respect that too. I respect your opinion too.
I mean, I can't imagine those people there today. I've been praying for them and in Iran as well. The horror, the fear that the people experience in situations like that.
Well, if I may, Marty.
Sure, go
Thank
ahead.
you. In the 1970, the Soviet Union was our sworn enemy, and there was an incident in the Soviet Union called Chernobyl,
Mhm.
and that is when a nuclear reactor was leaking nuclear stuff. Yeah, stuff. And the United States, even though they were a sworn enemy, the United States sent teams of scientists and other people to go there. They'll go to our sworn enemy and help fix that problem. I don't know if you can look it up. I'm sure you can find it.
Sure.
But this is another thing that you could take a look at, where the United States and Israel have very similar ideas about human life.
Mhm. Okay. Very, very good. So now it shifts a little bit. Who hasn't had a chance to read? Lynn?
Marty,
Lynn.
just one thing. I apologize to everybody that I can't remember the words to come to me that I want to explain myself. So I hope that you understand that I do the best that I can, but my memory is not good no more anymore.
Okay,
You're not
you did a good
alone.
job.
You're not alone.
For sure.
All of us. Me too. Lynn, would you care to read verses 19 through the end of 20.
Did we read 15?
No,
Did I skip?
15? I don't think we read 15 through 18.
No,
okay.
we stopped at,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
we're at
Oh, okay.
15.
So yeah, it's 15. So yeah, 15 through 18. That's where we are right
Okay.
now.
Yeah, okay. Thus you shall deal with all towns that lie very far from you, towns that do not belong to nations hereabout. In the towns of the latter peoples, however, which the Lord your God has given you as a heritage, you shall not let a soul remain alive. No, you must proscribe them, the Hittites and the Amorites, the Canaanites and the Perizzites, the Hivites and the Jebusites, as the Lord your God has commanded you, lest they lead you into doing all the important things that they have done for their gods, and you stand guilty before the Lord your God.
Okay. Any comments here?
That's severe.
It is very severe.
I think they're talking about
Really,
spiritual contamination, that the God of Israel versus the multiple gods of paganism. That that,
That's
that you
a
don't
good
get.
comment. It's been stated before by other rabbis and sages from all along. Yes.
I like the comment in Plout.
Yes.
Let a soul remain alive. This is a retrospective command. Had you done this, you would not have lapsed into idolatry. In the actual invasion, no wholesale extermination of the local population took place, although such a procedure would not have offended against the usual practice of the times. So this was not a charge before. This is a charge after. That's what you should have done, but you didn't.
Okay. Or it could also be that after you go through all of this, that it's God's command that you're not following. You know, that you have to follow what God has said to do all of these things. But the people that said, "Wait a minute, this is too much." I
Well,
don't
that's the
know.
question. You have the choice between idolatry and
That is the main
murder of
issue.
innocents. There's
Yes.
murder where you're going to murder every soul. That means children and people who are really basically just members of the. It's like saying, well, we don't like, I don't know, Colombia, so let's murder Venezuela. So let's murder everybody. It's not, like they do bad things there, but it's the punishment does not match the crime. It's like too extreme, too severe.
And this is, this is has been mentioned before by other people, even in our Torah study group, that the concept of idolatry, as you pointed out, does that outweigh the decision making compared to other laws and rules and that have been the different mitzvot? Is that one of the major things that we're not supposed to, you know, we're not supposed to consider?
And if it's idolatry, the reasoning behind it for me is faulty. It's like saying they will lure you into idolatry. Well, what about your own agency?
There you go. There
Well, we
you
don't have to be lured. So we're going to kill them so we won't get lured. Why can't we just say, I'm not going to be an idolater?
right.
What about our own responsibility for our choices?
that's a sound argument too. And I'm sure this was also debated way back then because there's no evidence to support that everybody was put to the sword.
Yeah. It's like
And
I'm sorry.
yeah, no, go ahead.
My rabbi in Palm Springs, he was a historian or knew the history a lot, of the Torah. But his comments in the Torah, and it was a different spin on it. He would bring in historical facts and stuff
Sure.
like that we live in a different time, and to remember that when we read, this is how it was then. But we learn, as Lynn, we can learn from that and then apply it to modern times and what we feel. But it was during that's how it was done back then. And it was brutal, and it was, to take the booty of the women. It sounds like a Viking story, to go in and, but that's the way it was. It's not the right way, but that's how everybody then, not just, they were Israelites by this time, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I get the timeline kind of mixed up.
Okay.
Do you know how many years had it been since they were slaves? Like, because after they got out of Egypt, you hear that over and over again about other idols and multiple gods. That was just like really, really beat into the mind and the soul of the Israelites. So I wonder just the span, because it's only mentioned once here,
in this one, but it comes up since the book of Genesis.
Right.
But I mean, she's asking how long has it been out of Egypt? So this is close to 40
out of
years.
Egypt.
About
40.
They're
Okay.
about close to
40
40
years.
years. This is like a whole new generation.
Yes.
This is not,
Yeah.
well, most of those people who have died, this is their children, except for, Joshua and Caleb or something, they're all dead.
Right. They're the only ones and Moses at this point that have survived this one.
But we always still need to be reminded of not to put other gods, whether it's, money, property, there's lots of different gods out there that we worship. But yeah, but it still needs to be mentioned.
Yeah,
I
Lynn,
want to
you
bring out a
would say
Purim
something.
connection. Yeah, I wanted to bring out a Purim connection since we're right before Purim, which was later when with the kingdom of Israel, and Saul was directed to suppress the Amalekites, and they captured the force, and the king was Agag. Haman was an Agagite, so he's from that line. And Saul was directed to eliminate them, as Amalek is the quintessential enemy.
Right.
All enemies are associated with Amalek. And Saul did not, under the instructions of God, kill the king Agag. And so somebody else had to do it. I can't remember who, maybe Rabbi Miri remembers. But it was like, even when you had a direct command from God in a particular instance, Saul was reluctant to execute this enemy king. It's just this sort of same instruction about killing our enemies. When is killing not murdering?
Not what?
The two, like, it's not
I understand where you're coming from. That's
I
right.
said, when is killing not murdering? In other words, we're not supposed to murder. And we're not supposed to murder anybody. In war, you're allowed to defend yourself.
Well,
when are you allowed to take action to prevent them from killing you
Well, it's
or
uh,
threatening your community in general. So that becomes killing rather than murdering.
well, you're talking. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. Um, well, you're allowed to protect yourself, and if it involves taking the life of another person while you are in defense of saving your life, the life of a family, a life of a stranger, an innocent stranger, that would not be considered murder, because, as you said, murder is premeditated. See, you're not allowed to plan the taking of a life. You can't plan that. Well, actually, you can, but if you go through with that plan, then that's murder. But you're allowed to defend yourself or someone else, an innocent person, and if it involves, if that the end to that is taking the life of a person, that would be a an appropriate killing.
Okay. Very
Yeah.
okay.
It says,
Now,
"Abal orgeu." If someone comes to kill you, kill him. But don't ask me questions about leaving Egypt and Purim and all that, because my way of looking at it, it's very different, and I don't want to introduce it now. Some of you know it,
yeah,
how I think
it's
about
okay.
all that. By the way, the story of Purim is very Persian, and it was introduced there as a Megillah. I don't know why, but they put it in. But if you go to the Persian stories, you'll find it there. And all the names that appear there are Persians. Ahasuerus and Esther,
Mm-hmm.
they are Persian names. But that's beside the point.
Yeah.
As a matter,
What
uh,
I thought someone was going to to bring up the looking at this from a slightly different standpoint. Uh, we're told not to murder. There are certain things that fall under the heading of killing. Okay. But here we're being ordered. There's a plan here. We're following a plan. And so in my mind this opens a debate that could also say, is it okay for God to plan it as opposed to man planning it?
uh,
And it becomes a different type of philosophical discussion.
I would say yes, but God
Please.
would be permitted to do it, because God has the ability to look ahead to what of consequences, um, to evaluate and know what's coming ahead of time, before this happens.
Sure.
So we cannot we cannot allow ourselves to get ahead of God. If he, if whatever, however you perceive God is going to do it, God is going to do it, and you cannot really. You can question him, you can question God, but whether you're going to get an answer is something else, you know.
Then the
But
next level. Then the next level.
Well,
What about the governments involved when because they have planned, the soldiers are being moved around and everything. And people don't like it when I say that when you're using a military, there's only one aim in sight, and that's to kill. That's at the hand. That's what you're saying. You're disregarding everything that has been put into your civilian mind and
Well,
everything.
they say you
The
want to
mission of the military is different.
yeah, you want to neutralize your enemy.
That's a
And they
kind
use
way of putting it.
that's right. They use that to avoid to use the word of killing, they use
Yeah,
the word neutralize.
that's right. That's right.
How
But
about conquering?
but yeah, no. But this is what and these debates we have not. I don't think anyone has come up with a solid answer to this dilemma.
No.
I just find it fascinating because you're being asked to murder possibly innocent people. You're trying to avoid doing it, yes, but in the back of your mind,
Hey,
there's
Marty,
other things
this is
going on.
Kent.
Yes, Kent.
Can you hear me? Okay, let's see if I can get myself on here.
There
Okay,
you
very
are.
good.
You've
Oh,
been
there you
back on the
are.
Hi,
planet
Oh, you're
everybody.
copying.
Hi, everybody. All right. Well,
Okay.
no, I've been paying attention, listening as best I could, but
Yeah.
you just said something that I have to just to address. I don't see that the dichotomy of right and wrong between self-preservation and and having to survive in one way, either directly with a direct threat or an existential threat. I don't,
Right.
and you used the word, well, murder. Well, just now, it's interesting semantics here.
I
All
did it,
murder.
Kent, by the way, I did this to be very provocative.
Okay, well, you have
Okay,
been.
to get
You have
people
been.
to at least think about the subject. Okay, you go ahead.
I've been thinking about it
Sure,
a long time.
I know.
Okay, so murder is always killing, but killing is not always murder. And in the context of a human's basic instinct, I mean, it's beyond Maslow's hierarchy of needs of
That's
food,
right.
clothing,
I
and
know that.
shelter.
That's
It's
right.
survival.
Mm-hmm.
And so, um, to survive against a sworn enemy. There's something I heard this morning on a podcast, and then I looked it up, and just to be sure, and I think it's more ironic than coincidental. But today, as Shabbat, is the if I pronounce this correctly, Shabbat Zahor, right? It's a portion of in the Hebrew Bible, the memory of Amalek is read annually on the
That is
Shabbat before
correct.
Purim,
That is
and
correct.
Amalek. Someone mentioned, earlier, brought him up, but he that those people that they became a symbol of radical, unprovoked hatred of Israel. And you said, well, when you started today's session, it's like, well, though many of us may have differences on approaches on politics, whatever, but let's stick to the Torah. Well, I want to stick to the Torah here. In
Very
Deuteronomy
good.
25:17-19, Israel is commanded to remember what Amalek did, and that God had told the Israelites to erase their memory once they settled in the land,
Right.
right? And today happens to be the reading of that. And I'm like, I had a conversation earlier this morning, and I said to both my wife and a friend, a guest who was with us, I said, let's close our eyes for a second and imagine a world where the necrophilic regime in Iran, the death cult
A death
regime,
cult.
that
That's what you.
martyrdom is is primary. The same was with Hamas. That's why they embedded in civilians and lived underground like cockroaches, right? Because, but they knew civilians would be killed. It
Mhm.
didn't matter how many tens of thousands of Palestinians were warned to leave these tenements and high rise because they were also Hamas bases, and it didn't matter. The more martyrs they had, the better. So you have that regime that is part of that death cult. They share that sense about it, and it's like, what about the world where they don't exist? What can you imagine? Could anybody imagine? I'm talking leftists, rightists, green parties, Republicans, socialist Democrats. Imagine a world where Iran would have nuclear weapons. I mean, so you say, well, how many years do you kick that down the road, or months or weeks? How many? I say when you have an opportunity, you stop it. And I think that that's in our Torah. I think it's
Oh,
right there.
and it is. It is. Uh, by the way, who are the Amalekites? When do we first encounter that statement?
When they left Egypt.
Leaving Egypt.
It's the
Right.
first war that the Israelites have to
The
fight.
very first war. Correct.
That's right.
Correct.
And it as long as they keep coming back in the story, don't forget that.
Correct. Well,
And
I just
yeah,
thank you
and
for letting me
that's
my
what
rant. But
Kent
here's
is
the thing.
addressing. Yes.
I am unapologetic about a survival of Judaism and the Jews and those who are smarter than I, and they know the security issues and how many missiles people have and what they're building and what the potential is. And I I adhere to the will of God on this and what the admonitions have been over millennium, as Rabbi Mary said. I mean, she quoted that if one comes to kill you, you go after them first, you know? And so, how many people were killed in Israel's preemptive strike in 1967 when armies were
Hmm.
massed on their borders to annihilate the state of Israel? Well, you don't hear that today, you know? And there's something interesting happening only in today's world that changes a flavor here, and you'll read more about it later.
Hmm.
There was conjecture over the last several months that though you didn't hear from other neighboring Arab countries in the Middle East about Iran's potential and to create havoc and to war. So it was like, well, the US can't use our airspace, can't do this, can't do that. Okay. Today, right now, according to news feeds,
Hmm.
almost every Arab country is condemning Iran, not
Hmm.
mentioning Israel or the US for what they're doing and indiscriminate missiles being fired and so forth. Because my sense is that they're hoping for the end of that regime as well, so that they can
Yeah.
thrive because they're all afraid of them. They're Amalek to them as well. And that's how I've read it. And
Okay.
I don't see that changing for
We
me.
were trying to avoid you missed my opening remarks because I know there are a lot of different ideas, and that's why I want to keep it as close to the Torah session as possible.
No, and I heard that and I
That's right.
told you I did. But
Okay.
when I heard you say you used the term murder like it's murder, but when in fact it's a self-defense thing, that's a very
That's
different
right.
thing.
And by the way, when as I said, I did it in a provocative way because when things are planned, when and this is addressed here that you have to give the people the option of saying, okay, we give up, and you know you can. We are not going to enter into any battle. You give them a chance to say all of that, and not to and or to leave, things like that in today's world. But the role of the military, once military is used, and a lot of people who have not served in the military do not understand that the purpose of the military is not the same as a civil society. Once the military is unleashed, they have a mission to accomplish. And they, but plans have been made as to how to do that mission. So it's premeditated in a way, And you see the philosophical aspect to this that's coming up. It, and we can have our feelings, for peace. We can have our feelings to be aggressive and things like that, to be defensive. But we have to say that it, it the tension in all of this is based on the fact that you don't want to kill the innocent people. Okay? And sometimes it's very hard to know the difference. For example, when we went into Iraq, it was made a big deal about an elderly man who's in a all shot up building, and he's ordered to raise his hands and stand. Okay, and multiple times. Well, in battle, and this is, and I'm pointing this out because two sides came about. One saying, no, you do everything you can to avoid killing the man. But when you know that your enemy has the ability to hide grenades, other weapons, do you still take that approach? How far do you have to go before you take it, or you say, okay, you're risking not only your own life, but the lives of others around you? If the guy is loaded with a bunch of grenades, if he stands up. And so decisions have to be made, not necessarily favorable. But war is different than civilian activity. And once you unleash that, it's a totally different picture. And we may not all like the idea of having to do it, but as Kent is pointing out, if sometimes I don't know who said it, but sometimes an offensive approach is better than taking a defensive approach for self-protection. So that's why this chapter, what we're reading here, and the news today and everything else, it all comes together in this type of discussion. I'm trying to walk a fine line here to try to keep it balanced. I have my own personal feelings about this, but I try to, if I'm going to lead, I have to keep things balanced. Okay. Yeah. Yes, Michael.
There is something called preemptive strikes,
Yes.
Which we hope the military weighs very heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the problems Israel has had, because they don't they Israel does not attack, they retaliate. They don't ever do that because of what you're talking about. But anyway, in the American military, if I understand it, I have never been in American military, but I did some study on it. And a preemptive strike when intelligence, a military intelligence has substantial proof and enough to go in, and there may be innocent people killed. I don't think they can call it murder. And this is one of the problems with preemptive strikes. Got to be very sure about everything. And these surgical, and I think that's why the United States and Israel uses surgical precision the best that they can to alleviate harm to people and zero in right on the exact target that they're looking for, that they need. And I can tell you this: some years ago, I read some information from Golda Meir, and she talked a lot about this. She was a very brilliant prime minister, and we certainly could use her today. And I'm not saying anything against our president, the present prime minister, nothing at all. I'm not going to say anything. I have my issues, not issues, but my information about him, which I don't want to mention anything about that
Okay.
because I don't want to get political with anything. So I just try to keep it very peaceful here.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, I think that that with the circumstances, as I said when we first started, that you know we're sort of drifting away from what's written in Torah because we want to try to keep things balanced in our mind. And when we are tempted to go one way or the other, it can be it can be harmful. We just finished reading that line that it can create it's not just disillusionment, but it can create a tension that is hard to resolve, and it could lead to utter destruction. And so it has to be brought under control in times like are mentioned here. And then the debates can follow. Yeah, that's what you have to, and that's been the history of the world. But I'm just happy that I don't have to make all of these types of decisions. You know?
Just one thing that we should keep in mind: the Ten Commandments. I think the sixth commandment is that says, "Thou shalt not murder." I think everybody knows that. But in the non-Jewish version, it's "Thou shalt not kill."
Right.
And I think anybody who has a problem with the word murder should research it, and it's pretty clear. It's not convoluted at all.
That's true.
There's a reason why it went to that, and people should take a look at the research on that, and also take this into consideration when looking at that. Murder in the first degree carries special circumstances. That's the only crime that will carry, not murder in the second degree, not murder in the third degree, which not too many people know about.
And that's true,
Yeah.
Mike.
So, right, I just want to tie that loose end, so to speak, together.
Okay.
And why is that? And just let me finish this thought, Murray. And the reason that came about is all other crimes that where the person, no matter what the crime is, all other crimes where people are alive
Yes, you've mentioned that. Yes.
can forgive the perpetrator. But in first degree murder, the one who you cannot get a forgiveness from the person who was murdered. That's the only one who can forgive the perpetrator, and that's how special circumstances came about. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Now what I'd like to do is to move on to verses 19 through the end of 20. And who hasn't had a chance to read? So, Kent, would you care to read verses 19 and 20? Okay, just a second, Kent, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Sorry, here we go. Are you using this Tanakh?
I use Plout.
Does
I don't
anybody?
go by page. That's why I rarely
No,
like to say
Yeah,
but go
who's
ahead.
page
got the
number.
page number for?
This
You
is
got to take
Oh,
it from the
Deuteronomy
top because I
20,
go ahead.
Deuteronomy 20, verses
Okay,
19 and 20.
because I was flipping around Deuteronomy 20. Give me just 1 second. Okay, a little too far. All right, okay. Deuteronomy 20. Okay, almost there.
19
All
and
right,
20.
19 and 20. 1 sec. Here we go. Got it. When in your war against the city, you have to besiege it a long time in order to capture it. You must not destroy its trees, wielding the axe against them. You may eat of them, but you must not cut them down. Are trees of the field Are trees of the field human to withdraw before you into the besieged city? Only that you know, do not yield food may be destroyed. You may cut them down for constructing siege works against the city that is waging war on you until it has been reduced.
hmm.
Okay. Comments?
Yeah,
There's
Confused.
that
commentary on this too.
okay.
I have a
Yes,
question.
Lynn,
I'm
please.
confusing about how a city that is being um, besieged can wage war against the Israelites. It says a city that is waging war on you. How can that city wage war when it's besieged? It sounds like it's defending itself. So something I don't
Well,
understand.
there's probably, if I may, there's probably a context of the battle. In other words, oftentimes a besieged city is those who have run into it because they failed on an open battlefield. So we don't know the circumstances per se of why it's besieged or how it became besieged. In this
Right.
case, at least I don't. But if I may, I want to go to the thing about the trees. That's a really interesting
Yeah.
Okay.
statement.
Well,
Are trees?
so I just want Lynn to finish her thinking on this, and then we'll move on to the trees for sure.
Well, it's just about perspective. Like, as a combatant or somebody, like, what do you consider yourself the perpetrator or the receiver of violence? And it seems to me that both sides can make the argument that we're the ones defending.
Sure.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
sort
But
of shine a light on the muddiness. It's
this is
muddy to me.
it is, and this is another area. See, we're not given all of the answers. There's no dictate as to, 20 pages or 50 pages, 1,000 pages, to explain this. It's left up to us, given certain circumstances, as to what we do. And this is a guideline, if you will. From the standpoint that you're being asked, this is the preferred way to do it. Don't just race in after the people and kill them. Give them another chance, if
Yeah,
you will.
I don't think that's here in that section, what you just said.
Well,
I don't
it's
read
not
that in there.
stated. None of it is
I
stated. It's because that's my take on it, and you
but
have the other. Go ahead.
well, my other is it's the lesson in these two sentences or sections, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
is not about the battle or the besiegement or the defense of a city against the Israelites. It's all about how you treat the land as you pursue your military dictums. In other words, it's like you don't cut down every tree when particularly bearing the fruit, because they can't run inside and hide inside the city. That's what it said, right?
Right.
Right? Are
That's
trees of the field
another aspect
human
to this.
to
Yes.
withdraw before you into the besieged city? No, they're not. On the other hand, you can cut down trees, even fruit trees, to defend yourself as you besiege the city,
Mm-hmm.
because it's part of your defense and part of your military operation, but not wanton destruction. That's how I read that.
Okay. And that is a very traditional approach to it. So yes, I agree. But it's very specific that only trees which you know do not yield food may be destroyed,
Unless, though,
unless you may
right?
cut them down for constructing siege work against the city that is waging war
Right.
on you. Okay. But
Marty,
once it's reduced, once you have won the battle, you're not supposed to keep doing it to the trees.
I also see that
Right.
as God is providing that this is a mess, okay? They're having this battle and it will end, but God is providing food and sustenance for I would even say winners, for the survivors, that there is still a way to move on, carry on, continue with life, not just now you starve to death after we shot you all up. That it's I think it's showing the compassion and the mercy of God even in the most ugly circumstances.
Very good. Yes, Donna.
This doesn't happen now. Trees are destroyed.
They
Buildings are,
are.
I mean, the truth is, yes, I agree with this, that with trees and all, but it doesn't happen.
Well,
It's a good,
put
it's
your
a good
mindset
way
in,
to
put
to
your
want to
mindset
go.
3,000 years ago. Okay, they didn't have any weapons like we have today.
Mhm.
Okay, but you need wood for catapults.
Mm.
Okay, you have to use the rocks that are around there for the catapults. You have to, but specifically trees. So why trees? Why trees? Why pick on trees as opposed to other things?
Of course, they clean the air. This is
Well,
something
they
that
didn't know that back then.
they didn't know that. Right, but they didn't know a lot of stuff, but yet I think they felt it. That with the food and all the agriculture in Israel and the Middle East, the pollution from these bombings, from these toxins that are getting into the ground, their food is
Well,
being destroyed.
Right.
I
Yes,
have here a quotation on 19. It's not from Maimonides.
please.
Thank you. He writes, but prior to his quote, we're not to be carried away in a time of war and forget that it's going to be over one day and that families will need to live and to feed themselves. And he writes, quote, not only one who cuts down a fruit tree, but anyone who destroys household good, tears clothing and, the buildings and springs and all that, you must not destroy. And then, so the United States, he's not still saying, that was the end of the quote, I should have said. The laws of the US permit people to destroy their own property. Jewish law teaches us that we are only the custodians
Correct.
the true owners of our property. That I think of the different tribes in our own country, who are the custodians, and
Yes.
that's that, Marty.
That's their philosophy. That is correct.
Right.
But
But
what is about why the
with trees,
distinction between fruit-bearing trees
well, it's
and
food
trees that are not? What there's there's a parallel
distinction.
lesson that we were spoken about.
Okay.
We have to go back to birds.
No, I should know that. I love birds.
Okay, so why are we commanded to chase away the fledglings, okay, before you, or chase away the mother before you take the eggs? This is a thought that just that in reading all of this, it came into my mind. I couldn't find anything written about this, and if somebody knows that there is, that's okay. But in my mind, it suddenly dawned on me that there's a parallel. What does the food contain?
Seed.
Life.
Nutrition?
It's nourishment, obviously, but what does fruit contain?
Seeds.
Seeds.
Seeds, you got it.
Hey, Michael. Yeah.
Seeds.
Okay. You can't chase a fruit tree away when you take the fruit to eat the fruit. Think about that for a second.
Say that again, please.
You can't chase the tree away when you're taking the fruit, the egg, if you will.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
There's a parallel that there. That's what popped into my mind. So yes, you're using it for nourishment, but you don't want to harm.
Deplete it. You don't want to deplete it.
That's right. That's another word to use. That's right. You cut that tree down, not only do you use it for the warfare or the siege or whatever, but you're also going to prevent future generations.
Well, they say that the
And they
Torah
knew
is,
about seeds. They had agriculture back then. They knew about seeds.
the tree of life. That's what the Torah, that's what I come to understand is the
Yeah.
tree of life. So trees are, a big part of
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they have a holiday for it. We have a holiday for it.
Well,
You know,
Yes, we do.
and it's wonderful that there's that in there with nature and
Mm-hmm.
to protect the trees
well,
because
they
you don't have trees out there. I mean, it's not like living in the redwood forest, which I have. There's abundance, but there's not an abundance of trees in those areas.
Right.
well in Israel they plant trees in people's honor.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I've
So
done
it's
that.
But I
yeah.
just tossed that out for, just to see the comparison of the two stories. You're going to eat the fruit, but the tree, you can't have the tree take flight.
Yeah. If I may, there's a dichotomy between which trees are most important. They're all important here,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
but the fruit-bearing trees are the most important,
Most, yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you could use the non-fruit-bearing trees for your defense, for your
Correct.
breastworks, right? Until such time as the threat is over. That's what it says, at least how
Yeah,
I read it.
that's exactly what it says. Once
But not the
everything
fruit-bearing
has been,
trees.
it's resolved. That's right.
Right, right. Interesting.
Which is it's an interesting thing. Just want to thank everyone. I realize that a lot of people want to get back and hear what's going on in the world news and everything. And as we started everything, I just hope and and pray that things will not be prolonged, that it'll all be over in a very short amount of time, and
Well,
any loss of life has to be
Minimal.
minimum. Yes.
yeah.